this presentation and we will be posting it on our YouTube channel. And now I would like to welcome everyone to our Meet the Authors event. Tonight we got dynamic duo, Lyn Liao Butler with her roller coaster tales, and Ali Hazelwood, who has turned the science of romance into an art form. Now, our programming librarian Giovanna will introduce our authors.
Thank you. Thank you, Galina. I just want to remind everyone to keep your phones muted, and for those of you at home, to stay muted, especially during the discussion between the two authors. And we do have book signing here tonight. So for those of you who are with us, enjoy a glass of wine, some cheese, some crackers, and buy a book and have it signed by Lyn. And we have book plates that Ali sent over to the Village Bookstore. So it's my pleasure to introduce tonight's authors, speakers. We have Lyn Liao Butler, who's from Westchester and was born in Taiwan, moved to the States when she was 7. Before becoming an author, she was a professional ballet and modern dancer and is still a personal trainer, fitness instructor, and yoga instructor. She is an avid animal lover and fosters dogs as well as volunteers with rescues. When she is not torturing clients or talking to imaginary characters, Lyn enjoys spending time with her FDNY husband, their son, the happiest little boy in the world, and their 3 stubborn dachshunds, Loki, Mochi, Cash, and Pino in heaven, sewing for her Etsy shop and trying crazy yoga poses on a stand-up paddleboard. So far, she has not fallen into the water yet. Ali Hazelwood is the #1 New York Times bestselling author of Love Theoretically and The Love Hypothesis, as well as a writer of peer-reviewed articles about brain science in which no one makes out and the ever after is not always happy. Originally from Italy, she lived in Germany and Japan before moving to the US to pursue a PhD in neuroscience. When Ali is not at work, she can be found running, eating cake pops, or watching sci-fi movies with her 3 feline overlords and her slightly less feline husband. So please join me in welcoming Lyn Liao Butler and Ali Hazelwood. Thank you.
Hi, Ali.
Lyn, this is, I feel like this is the coolest event setup that you and I will ever do.
I know. I was going to fly to Houston, but then we were like, well, maybe we'll just do it a virtual. It was actually Giovanna's idea. So thank you for that, right?
It's amazing. I love it. It's are people seeing my face? Is my face like enormous and giant?
No, it's not. It's not big at all. It's normal size.
Yeah.
Laken, take a picture of the screen and we'll send it to Ali.
Thank you. Thank you.
No, it's
see my good boy.
It's half me and half you, and then people on top.
I love this because you never know, and I don't think anyone wants to look at my nose that long. Just say. So I'm glad we're sharing this.
Yes, we're sharing a screen, so you see me. I can tap dance if you want to take the pressure off your nose.
Actually, it would put even more pressure because you are so good and so flexible, and sometimes you do you remember when, like, okay, Lyn and I were on the same debut group, so we published our first book at the same time, and you would do your promo pictures like in these yoga poses.
Oh yeah, that's
like
right.
your book, and I was like, this is so much pressure. I can barely sit down. It's like, oh, my book like that, and it was amazing.
Yeah, so Ali and I have known each other since I think 2019, right?
Yeah, or
is that when you got your deal?
2020, I think.
2020.
I think we met in 2020.
It was right before the pandemic, 2020, right?
I think so. I think you got your deal then, but I didn't get my deal until a few months into the pandemic. And that's when I joined the.
Oh, okay. So I got my deal in actually 2021, and we formed this debut group from our publisher, Berkeley, and then we kind of stuck together through because it was a pandemic and everybody was locked up, and we had nobody to talk to. So that's how we know each other. And then this group of ours has basically carried us through our publishing lives now, right? Like
It's
we're all
it-
so close. Like, so it's a treat that we both had a book come out yesterday.
I know I love that. And also not just that, but like now we have met in person because I feel like last time we did an event together. No, last event we did together, we had met in person, but like there have been times where we hadn't met in person yet, but by now we're like,
Yeah.
Lakon and I are always hanging out.
Yes,
so.
So Lakin and Ali were supposed to go to Disneyland to Disney World together in July. Was that July or August?
It was with
August.
Stimulate. So
August.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then literally the only was it a
It
tornado?
was a Sunday. It was a day that we were going to go. A giant tornado hit Southern California for the first time in
Which
like
wasn't
since the
even that
70s.
bad.
Yeah,
It wasn't
hurricanes.
really
Say it. Thank you, Melissa. It was a hurricane, and it wasn't that bad. But
It
the
was like
entire
rain.
Yeah, they
it
closed
was.
down Southern California, and so we didn't get to go. I think you went, and you were miserable and wet.
It
but-
was so wet. It was
So you still owe Lakin a trip to Disney World. So
yeah, and well, Stimulate this year. Yes,
Yeah,
it's happening.
okay, there we go.
Lakon, I'm promising it right now.
Do you hear that? Say thank you, Ali.
Oh my God, Melissa. Hi, Melissa. Sorry, our friend Lisa is there. She
so-
also was there.
Yeah, she was
Sorry.
there. Oh, she was there too. That's right.
She-
So, you know,
experienced it.
I just realized that even though Ali's book Bride is they call it what, a paranormal vampire romance? Is that what they call that?
I think so. To me, it's a paranormal romance, but I feel like right now there is a tendency of calling everything that has like supernatural elements romantasy.
Yes, I keep
Uh,
seeing romantasy announcements lately. So that
To
must be the
me,
big
it's-
thing.
Yeah. To me, it's a paranormal romance. That's how I think about it. But I don't know. It's
Yeah. But
Yeah.
you know, that's the thing about it is, and then my book, What Is Mine, that came out with your book yesterday, it's a thriller about a 9-year-old boy that goes missing. And then, but I found that the funny thing is that your book also had a young child who was, I think, 7, right? And she also gets almost kidnapped.
Yeah.
So look, we have very similar themes. Like in these
and
two
there
books.
is a missing person that is
Yeah.
like the thing. So look at us. That's true.
I think there's a little mystery in there. There's a search for what's her name? Serena?
Serena. Yes.
Serena.
exactly.
Yes. So yeah.
I wonder, I was actually, so full disclosure, I've not read Lyn's most recent thriller. I read Somebody Else's Life and
The other
it
ones.
freaked me out. Like,
I think this one will freak you out then because it's so I'm going to tell everybody why I wrote this book. So when I started out with Ali, my books they called them book club fiction. It was like upmarket, family drama. And then during the pandemic, I was supposed to write book 3, which was going to be a proposal for my publisher. And I was pandemic homeschooling Lakin, who was 8 at the time. And it was just me because my husband was a firefighter in New York City dealing with all the COVID, cases.
Mhm.
And I started to get stabby. Like, I mean, every day at 9:30, I was like, oh my God, I need a drink. I can't do this. So I started killing people.
Happy
in my
hour.
books. Yeah, happy hour.
That's how Lagan got into happy hour.
At 9:26. So I started killing people in the books. And then I had a stalker, and then I had an accidental murder, and then intentional murder. And then I show my agent the proposal, and she's like, Lyn, this isn't feel good family history book. She's like, I think you wrote a thriller. I was like, I did. So she went to my editor, who did not take thrillers at the time. She wanted romances, like
Mhm.
which I don't write. Oh, and Ali will tell you later why she calls me furry chest licker.
Okay, first of all, it's not true that she doesn't write romance. She
I
does
don't know
write
how.
amazing. She writes amazing romance. Like it's, I mean, something about you. Like I don't know. I disagree that you don't write.
Well, no,
romance.
okay. Let me amend
Just
that. I
just
can't
the
write
steamy
sex
scenes.
scenes. Yes,
Exactly.
I cannot write sex scenes. Okay.
The romance is right there, though.
Yes.
It's-
I cannot write steamy scenes. So I leave that to Ali. But anyway, so that's how I came up with this. I started writing thrillers, and that's where that first book came. And then they bought a second thriller. And the reason I wrote this was during the pandemic, we fostered 17 dogs, and not all at the same time, like over 2 years time. And
She's a Disney
s-
princess. That's
Yeah, she
that's
called
the
me,
truth.
Ali called me Disney princess and then everywhere
Because
I go, I kept finding cats. Remember
animals
that
and
cat?
rescuing them.
Yeah, and then like I'll be driving down the road and I see a dog and I get out and then we rescue a little kitten. So anyways, my son would cry every single time. And I was like, so let's stop fostering. He's like, no, I want to help these dogs. So we kept doing it. And this one couple was so enamored with him. They were like, he's like Buddha, he's like shining light, and he's so wonderful. And they offered to give the dog back to him. And I was like, no, 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 keep the dog, you adopted it. And then they sent him this giant box of stuffed dog toys to give to his future foster dogs. And they kind of kept in touch. And in my head, I'm going, wow, that's so nice of them. And then I was like, but are they too nice? Like, what if one day they are driving by my street and Lakin's out there playing with our dog and they just take him in their RV and drive him cross country and we never see him again? And that was the basis of how I wrote this book.
That is kind of relatable though, because I love Lakon, and if I had to kidnap someone, I would probably kidnap him.
All right,
And
so if
I
he
would
goes
take him
missing,
to
we
Disney.
know who to look for. Okay?
Exactly. I would take him to Disney for a while, and then when we get tired, if he's ever like, "Oh, I miss mommy," then we can come back, I guess.
Okay, well,
But
he's smiling very widely right now, so.
I am ready to kidnap. I actually, though, I really love that story that like you accidentally. So I have to say, your first book, I would say, yeah, book club fiction, The Tiger Mom's Tale. It made me cry. It's like it was the story of this family, and I don't know, there was just so much emotion in it. And like especially if you have like ever had a weird like family dynamic, I feel like
Yeah.
you will see you in that story and you'll cry. But anyway, and I remember I don't know who I was talking to, but I always loved the idea that you were writing that kind of book and then you ended up writing a thriller. So I was doing an event with someone and I was like, I really love thrillers, and I have this friend of mine who was trying to write like a women's fiction / book club book, and then she accidentally wrote a thriller, and they were like, "Wait, is that Lyn Liao Butler?"
Yeah, that's what
And
I'm
it was
known for
amazing.
now. So people are like, "Oh, you're that accidental thriller writer." I'm
Exactly.
like, "Yes."
I love
Yeah,
that.
I know. They asked me, they're like, "Well, how do you?" And then because I was writing all these stories and I was researching, I mean, my Google searches is like, "How long do I have to hold a pillow over someone's face before they die?" And like, which poison is not detectable in, thing. And then my latest one is like, what part of the body do you shoot to like instantly take them out? And I know I'm on some sort of FBI watch list,
yeah.
and like somebody's watching me. So that's why I wrote that rom-com, because after all that killing and kidnapping and stabbing, I was like, I need a happily ever after. So I wrote this rom-com, which Ali read and blurred for me, and I tried to write sex scenes. We're gonna talk about you later, but
Wait, the first thing is that you owe me 2 more rom-coms because
I do.
it
I
was
do.
about a group of 3 friends. And you
Yes,
also
I do.
had the titles planned out.
Yes,
that
they're
were
all planned
amazing.
out. Yes, they're all done. I actually wrote the first 5 chapters of the second in the series. And it's actually opens with a woman who accidentally touches her boss's tummy. You know where this is going, right, Ali? So it's a lot of my stuff is taken from my life, of like stupid things that I do, because I do stupid things all the time. And I made this big faux pas at this conference and accidentally touched someone's tummy, and I wrote it into the opening scene. So, and then she's so flustered, she's a dancer, and she falls and breaks her ankle, and then there goes her dance career. But so I tried to write a sex scene, and I sent it to my group to critique. And Ali, you can tell them what you said.
Okay. Well, can I just say it wasn't me originally, like someone, I think it was your critique partner who told you, you were like, I don't think I am meant to be writing sex scenes. And they
Yeah.
were like, no, I'm sure they're really good.
No, they were not good. I
like,
said
"You should
something like,
maybe close
yeah,
the
I think I
door."
said something like, she licked his furry chest. And so Ali started calling me furry chest licker.
I mean, I think I think some people would be into that. I still think
I
there's a
don't
lot
know.
of weird stuff out there, Lyn.
And then I would write things like insert description of male chest here, because I didn't know how to describe male anatomy. And then it's highlighted in yellow, and I finished the whole book, and I would go back and be like, damn, now I have to write a description. So I leave that to people like Ali. Like I don't know how you do it, but you make it like steamy, but like good and not cringeworthy.
Thank you. I appreciate that you say this despite the knot. I know
Yes.
that the knot was a lot, and I remember when I first told you about it, and you were like, "Wait, what is it?" And I had to explain it to you,
I still don't understand. So
and you still don't.
I just
I
want to say, how many people here has read Ali's books?
Don't feel like you guys
Yeah.
have to, please.
No, I just want to see like who knows about. So, you came from what is it?
Fan fiction.
Fan
Yeah.
fiction, right?
Yeah.
The Raylo, is that what it's called?
The Raylo, yeah. So Raylo was a ship in which, so by a ship is like a relationship that, basically in the last Star Wars trilogy, we really wanted Rey and Kylo Ren to end up together.
To end up
They
together, right?
didn't. Spoiler alert, it didn't happen. So yeah.
So they started writing these fan fiction of how they got together. And so when Ali joined our group, she was telling us something about nodding. And I was like, what is that? All innocent. And then I go to Google it and I was like, my eyes. And now
I'm so
she has
sorry.
actually written a book called Bride, which came out yesterday, that actually has nodding in it. And they let her write this book. So
Isn't it amazing? Like,
yes.
I love my editor and my agent so much. They, I love them.
So how did that come about? Did you give them sample chapters, or did you tell them first, or?
My agent negotiated this. She was like, she wants to write a werewolf book, and because I wanted to write a werewolf book, and I was like, I was just it was the thing that so this was my first book was The Love Hypothesis. It was just like a big breakout book, and none of my following books have been as successful as that one. But like right after it came out, that was when my agent was like, well, now we have to like renegotiate the new contract. So we are in a position of power. We will never be in a position of power again, like right now, because
Right,
you
so
had
you have to
this big-
strike, right? Well,
Exactly. And so she was like, what do you want to write? And I was like, werewolf erotica. And she just negotiated this for me, and I will love her forever. And yeah, she's amazing. She's fantastic. Have you met Tao? Have you?
I've never met Tao, but somebody thought I was Tao at Steamy LitCon when
Oh, I
came
remember.
on my team.
Because
They
we
thought I
were
was her
hanging out.
agent, so-
Exactly.
But I did meet Sarah, and I actually ran into her editor, Sarah, in the streets of Astoria one day. I was just
love
walking
that.
down the street, and she goes, Lyn? I'm like, she's like, I'm Sarah Blumenstock. I was like, so I met her editor on the street by accident one day. Yeah.
Isn't it super hard to meet someone in New York
Yes,
by
yes.
accident, because it's like the biggest
You
city
never
ever.
run into anybody in New York City even if you live on the same block. I lived on the same block as my editor, Cindy Huang, back in New York City. I've never seen her on the street. So it's very random that I was just happened to be on this random street, and she recognized me from, I guess we met in August, but
Yeah.
I just have to talk about Bride because it is so good. I just finished it. So it's about a werewolf. Well, they call them weres, right? Is that werewolf?
Yes.
So they're the werewolves, and then there's the vampires, but that's VAMPRY.
With a Y. I
Yeah,
was
with a
trying
Y.
to be fancy.
Yes.
And
So
I
there's
hope
the
we came
weres
across.
and the vampires, and then the humans, and they all coexist, but they have, like territorial fights. And they do this thing called a collateral, where they give a young child who is related to like somebody in position of the vampires and the humans, they exchange. And that's how they keep their peace, because if somebody, if they betray each other, they'll kill that child or something. So Misery, who is the main character, the vampire in the story, is, I guess, traded off to marry Lo, who is the werewolf. So basically putting her into enemy territory. It's about their story, and it is so good. Oh my God, you did such a good job. And there's that whole story about Anna, who is Lo's 7-year-old sister, and how, the secret about her, and how somebody tried to kidnap her. And So it had a lot of like, same themes as my book, which I was very surprised. So
I just love that we basically accidentally wrote.
yeah,
We both accidentally wrote like
same
this.
idea with missing people and
Exactly.
and children involved, where like you would do anything. Because in my book, like his aunt would do anything she can to, find the child and save him. And that's exactly what Misery and Lo were doing in the book. So
Remember when we just wanted to write feel good things and then something must have happened. Now we're
and
just
now we
like,
write these. Yeah, I just
Now we're
for my-
like-
yeah, for my launch event yesterday, somebody asked me like, isn't it disturbing for you to write about kidnapping, especially with a young child? Like, how can you write your worst nightmare? I was like, well, I think by writing about it, it was my worst nightmare that somebody could come and
Yeah.
take him. I think that's how I exercise, not exercise.
Yeah.
I exercise.
It makes sense with me.
Right?
Like I think fiction is a very good place to
Yes.
sort of like explore your fears and fantasies as well, but just the things that you're
Yes.
like, if this happened for real, it would be impossible to process. But because I'm writing about it,
Yes.
I can like be a little bit detached. So
And-
that
yeah.
totally makes sense. But what does Lacan think about when you're writing possible scenarios of terrible things that could happen to
Oh,
him?
Lacan helps me
I love
do
that.
research to find out where to kill people. So we were walking on this cliff one time, like hiking, and he looks down, he goes, "Mommy, this is a great place for someone to push someone off the cliff and disappear." And so we pulled him out of school during the winter of 2021 to go live in Kauai to do a research on that book because I knew I wanted to base it in Kauai. And he was supposed to keep a travel journal. And so, I didn't check very much. I mean, I saw that he was writing and doing his thing, so I didn't check. But apparently he was in there writing, "I just helped mommy figure out how to kill someone." And then we went to happy hour. And then
I love this.
and he always wrote, every page was, "We went to happy hour. Today we went to happy hour. My favorite part of Hawaii was happy hour." And I had to email the teacher and say, like, we're not alcoholics. It's just that happy hour is a big thing in Kauai, and like they make these, really fancy drinks for kids and everything. So yeah, so he's very much into helping me research.
I just love that it's a good age to get into happy hour, honestly. Like I love that you're raising him well, because it's one
Yes.
of my favorite things as well. And so I'm just
That's
glad
why
that
they call it happy. And in
Exactly.
Kauai, they make things like passion fruit, guava, orange juice. They call it pog,
Amazing.
which is like a big thing. And it's so good. And they don't have that here. Like we came home and he was like, "Can I have a pog?" And the woman stared at him like, "What is that?" She's like,
Well,
"We have a
Lena,
Shirley Temple."
you have to learn how to make it. Like it's important.
Well, we make it at home now. So, right?
It's oh nice. See, this is why you're a good mom, because you make fancy drinks, because you make happy hour.
And I teach him how to write plot books,
Exactly.
right? But I need so Ali is so I was reading the book and I'm texting her. I'm like, "Oh my God, is this
Oh my
not it?"
God.
Because I didn't know what it was. And I think at the last time I saw her in person, she had to draw me a diagram and I still don't understand. So
See, I know, and maybe some things are better like pictured, or maybe some things are better left not explained. But like my favorite part was when you texted me. Did you give my name to Misery, because her
Oh,
middle name is
yes.
Lyn?
Oh, there's an Easter egg. So for those of you that are here and know that my name is Lyn, so Misery, that's the main character, her middle name, guess what her middle name is? Lyn. And I didn't see that the first time I read it. It was like I was flipping through, getting ready for that. I was like, "Oh my God, you gave him my middle name." So I was so honored that Misery she's Misery Lyn. What's her last name?
Lark, I think.
Lark, that's right, Misery Lark. Yes.
You know, when it's been so long since you finished the book that you're like,
I know.
"Wait, what
I know.
are the names? What happens?"
I just did a book club for my first book, and somebody was asking me a question about a minor character, and I had no idea who it was. Like I blanked. They were asking something relationship, like how, and I was like, "Can you remind me who that is?" So yeah, this is my fifth book, so I'm like I don't remember anything about my first two books. So And this
It's
is
really
is this your
hard.
fifth book too? Is this
I
your fifth?
think so.
Not counting the novellas, right?
Yeah, I think it's the fifth full length. Yeah, because I had a YA in the
Right.
meantime.
Right.
So yeah. It's I totally get what you're talking about. Like, but I think it's generally sometimes the things that resonate with readers are not necessarily the things that
Right.
we cared the most about when we wrote the book. So I sometimes will have people asking me about a specific scene, and I'm like, did I write that scene?
Yeah.
Did I write that line? I don't remember that. Like it's very interesting.
Yeah, and
I
some and
wonder, like there are authors who have written literally hundreds of books
I
and they
know.
are still writing. And I mean, Nora Roberts or
Yeah.
slash JD Robb or even like Christina Lauren, they have what 30 books out. And I'm like, how do you keep track? And I am very impressed.
I know, and they remember what year it came out because I was talking to Kristen Higgins recently, and she was like talking about something. She said, "Oh yeah, that book and blah blah blah." And she named the year. I was like, "Wow, you like I can't remember my own books."
Yeah.
So, so maybe
I
one
did.
day we'll have
Yeah.
that, Ali.
I did an event with oh my God, Meg Cabot because
Oh,
it was for a festival and she was like I think she has written 60 or so books
yeah, she has a lot of books.
yeah, and she was she was telling me that it's like, at some point it all like blurs together.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, I guess that's what happened.
She's written some supernatural books, hasn't she? Like
Mhm.
witches and stuff. Yeah, I remember I read all her books before too. So,
Yeah, and she's writing adult witches
oh
now.
yes,
Like,
adult
yeah.
witches. So is there more in the series with Misery and Low, or is it a standalone?
So I think right now the plan is to see what the book does, and if people are interested in a sequel, maybe we'll. I'm writing. I have one more book in my contract with Berkeley,
Uh-huh.
and then we'll see if
Is it in this
Berkeley.
paranormal
No,
realm?
it's a contemporary.
Oh,
Yeah, I was supposed to be writing Serena's book, but then things happened, and it's part of the issue for me was that. So for me, and maybe it's the same for you, when you have a book that is about to come out and you have a lot of anxiety about the book, you're like, will it do well? Will it do
yes.
poorly? Will people buy it? Will people like it? And so usually the way I distract myself from that anxiety is by writing, the next book.
Another book, yeah.
Yeah, but
Yep.
writing the second book in the series was just giving me so much more anxiety that I just kind of got to the point where I was like, I cannot write this book right now. I need to be writing
Yeah.
something that's completely different. So I started writing something completely different.
That's good. I mean, that's exactly why, because that I write in 3 genres now, because I started with the upmarket. Now I do thrillers and then wrote rom-coms. Because once this book was done and launched, I was like, okay, I need to go back to writing an upmarket. And I wrote this whole book about Taiwan. And like I went back in time in 1950s as a grandmother whose daughter was stolen when she was 18 months and she never saw her again. But then 63 years later, she thinks she found her and asked her granddaughter to come over. So it's a completely different book. So I just finished that. And then after I did that, I was like, now back to plotting the other thriller that I've been writing. And I forgot to mention, so when I get mad at people, especially in publishing, like, you get
I
so
love
many
that.
rejections, right? Like all these rejections. And like, I think I've gotten like 300 to 400 rejections. And so I started putting people in the book, like just their names or like a variation of their name. Right. And so then they become the murder suspects and then I kill them off and then I feel So, and then I went to a thriller conference and they were saying that thriller authors are some of the nicest people on earth because when they get mad at people, they put them in books, kill them off, or, do something bad to them. And then they feel better and they're really nice in real life. So I think, what do you think?
I definitely, I think romance readers are, so we've read about love, but I
Yes.
think as a community, we can
Yes.
be kind of litigious.
Yes.
And
Yep.
So maybe that's the
And we
trick,
said that too. We said that, and because I write both, I can say this, that with
Yeah.
romance, it's all about love and happily ever after, and everybody is so happy. And so then the cattiness comes out, right? And so,
Yes,
so if you
that's what we
get a
do.
bunch of romance author, and I say that only because I write romance, and so does Ali.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I
We're
mean,
not,
we
we're
have a
not
lot
like
of
that. No, we're not like that though,
we
right,
have a
Ali?
lot of drama
Yeah.
going on. I mean, I don't know. We've had some fights, especially when they don't let me rename them
Right.
on our group chat. Then that's when we fight. So there is some cattiness
Well,
going
so
on.
somehow Ali has taken control of our group chat, and she can change our names and we can't. And so she'll change our names to like Furry Chest Licker and like Disney Princess and like all, whatever we happen to, something stupid we do, and all of a sudden our names have changed. So yeah, so that's the only time we get mad at her for.
I have no regrets for
Yes.
my actions.
And she's
I
very
stand by it.
fast. Like we could just be talking about a topic, and 2 seconds later, your name has changed. And
I'm
you
not
don't
even part
realize
of
it
the
until-
conversation, but
Yeah.
I just slide in just to change the names.
And we can't figure out how to ban her from doing that. So it's become
Yeah.
like, yeah. But
I'm very
yeah,
proud of
so
myself.
yes, you're very proud of yourself.
Wait, so okay, what's your next book coming out? Well, from
Well,
now
Well, so this is my last book on contract right now. So
for thrillers.
yeah, well, I have another thriller that we outlined that is maybe going to be picked up, maybe not. So cross your fingers. And if not, I have it all outlined and we will take it out somewhere. And then I have this upmarket book that is done,
Right.
going to make the rounds. And then, so now to distract myself from all that, I'm going back to that second book in the rom-com series that I told you about. So I'll probably write that. Unless my agent wants me to finish the thriller, and then we can take that out. So we don't know.
I well, you know that I want, because that's the thing. Like the story, I got attached to every single character in your rom-com, so I want them all to
good.
have their happily ever after. So that's
Yes.
why. But like I once again, I really get spooked out by your thrillers. So I don't know. I don't know what I want more, because I like being spooked out sometimes. Like I just have to be, emotionally
Yes,
ready.
you got people.
So
That's what
I don't know what I
somebody
want
said,
the most.
Well, I think you'll like this next one, I hope, because it's between a dancer and a veterinarian guy. Yeah. So there'll be cats. Oh, he has a cat. Remember, you helped me name him. I think the cat's gonna be named Morris, and the corgi husky mix. is
Oh
gonna be
yes,
named-
I remember
What did I
we
say?
were
Mabel. I think you said we named her Mabel. So like 2 old-fashioned names, Morris and Mabel. Yeah.
I remember we also brainstormed the breed of the
Yes,
dog.
the breed. And so it's now I think they call them a horsky. Have you ever seen them? They're like a husky corgi mix, and they're so cute.
Everything mixed with a corgi, it's like
It's so cute.
a million times cuter than they already are. It's just
yeah. So
corgis are
I always have animals in my books, and I think you always have a cat, right?
yeah, I wrote a dog in my next.
You do have a dog, right?
And in the one, yeah, like I like, I don't know, I feel like, and I know you are the same. My pets make my life so much better. I want to give this to my characters. I want them to have this happiness.
Yeah,
I want them to know the joy.
Exactly. And I so in this book, What Is Mine, there is 2 dogs, because obviously it's about them fostering dogs. And I put my dog Mochi in. She's one of my she was foster number 9 in our first foster fail. And I put her name in as a placeholder because I couldn't think of a name at the time, and I was going to change it at some point. But then I got busy and I wrote the book and I sent it in, and her name stayed Mochi. And I was like, oh, I forgot to change the name, but I went through copy edits and it was too late. But then she passed away in October. So I was like, oh, I left her a legacy. She is now in the book. And my friend drew a picture of her and turned it into a sticker. Can you see that? You can't see that, right? So now Mochi.
I want to see. Okay, I will in the picture later.
I'll go for closer. There we go. Do you see it? It's Mochi.
Oh my God, Mochi.
So, and I turned it into fabric, and I made the little pouches for them for my launch thing. So, so yeah, so like I dedicated my first book to my first 2 dogs. It said for Pino and Loki, my heart and soul. And I said to my husband, I'm like, sorry. I'm like, you weren't there when I was crying with all those rejections. My dogs were there licking up the tears. They were there with every word. So he didn't get a book dedicated to him until the third book. So he
I
had to wait.
mean, I guess he's cute, but
Yeah.
like Pino and
And Loki.
Loki,
Yeah.
yeah.
And then
Loki was-
Lakin got the second book. So yeah. And
I get it. Like
Yeah.
these are the priorities that I too would have. So I
Exactly.
I
Yeah.
understand.
And Lakin started signing my second book because we were actually in Saratoga Book Festival with Mia, Lynn, and Elizabeth, and we're signing at a table. And all of a sudden I see him writing my book. I'm like, what is he doing? He's like, it's dedicated to me. I have to sign the book.
Of course.
And I think I tweeted about it, and then people started requesting double signed books from us, and so we had to send some out.
I
So
love that.
yeah.
It's there is something about it. Like I dedicated my YA book to my best friend's daughters. I've known them for, like what, 7-8 years now, and I met them when they were 3 and 6 years old, and I just feel so much for them. And they sent me yesterday a picture of them like finding the book in the wild, a picture with them and the book, and I was sobbing. I was like, oh my God, all my life has come to this moment. This is why I am alive.
I know, and these are the things that make us like happy, right?
Yeah. It's it's they're just, I love this for them. And
have they read it yet?
They are too young.
Yeah, I was gonna say they must be too.
Yeah, I mean, and they are like, the book is 14 and up, and the oldest is now, I don't know, I think 11. So
okay, so almost. Yeah, almost.
Yeah, but she's a young 11. Like she gets scared a lot, and like I don't want to traumatize her. So maybe later.
Yeah, you might, right? I know you show them the fabric. Lakin pulled up a picture of the fabric to show. Yeah, you can hold out to the camera. Galina, did you want to do questions soon, or are there any?
Oh my God.
Wait, move it to the right. To the right. Yeah, there you go. See, it's mochi fabric.
That is the cutest thing.
Okay.
Mochi, what a good girl.
I know, she was such a good girl. She was our ninth foster dog, but first foster fail. And then we failed again on number 11. So but we just got number 21 adopted. So we're doing good. Cash likes being an only dog. He did not like those puppies. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, it was too much for him. I think he's much happier being an only dog. So
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I would also want all the love for myself. So I get where he's coming from.
Exactly. Yeah. So
sure, we can do questions
Okay,
right
good.
now. And people on Zoom, it's the time that you were waiting for. All your favorite authors, and you can ask questions. So you can unmute yourself, turn your video, so your wonderful authors would like to see yourself and your
I got a
pictures.
question. I really enjoy this book, Misery, because I like paranormal romance, and in all of your books, you kind of make an allusion to Twilight, which I'm a fan. And so, is that what sort of got you interested in reading and writing? A lot of people diss Twilight, which is sad because Stephanie Meyer's done a lot for paranormal romance. Her writing really got things started because it's been a long, long time. Because, and then of course people like to turn around. And also I can see right now that on Amazon, which is exciting, Bride is #1 bestseller, Werewolf and Shifters. So, 240 reviews.
Werewolf. Look, I didn't know that was a category. That's amazing.
Yeah. So
you have to love Amazon categories, and also
I
like
know.
sometimes how incredibly in this case it's spot on, but sometimes it's like your book ends up under, I don't know, kitchen appliances.
Oh yeah. It does.
Yes. Back to my real question, is Twilight a big influence for you?
So it's interesting. I definitely like, I love Twilight. But I think I wonder if I was a little bit too old for the Twilight thing, because I remember first of all, I knew Twilight mostly from the movies, and
Which is
I
very
was
different, you know, the
yeah.
books and movies are not the same.
Yeah, absolutely. So I started like I got into it. I don't know when the first movie came out. But I do know I remember watching the second to last one when I was in college, I think,
Mhm.
when and so at the time, I mean, there are a lot of issues, I'm sure, with Twilight. There are people who have like written a lot of really good critiques, then they explain why there are parts of it that are problematic. But I definitely agree with the fact that generally everything that is written by women and that is consumed primarily by women is something that is like people just like to just spit on it because it's fun. Let's just like trash it and diss it. It has been the same with 50 Shades of Grey, where the criticism sometimes is just not even I don't know. It's not necessarily valid. It's really just for the fun of talking poorly about a genre. But I have to say, for me, I was reading adult paranormal romance before I knew about Twilight. So I was reading Nalini Singh, J.R.
Oh,
Ward,
right.
Christine Feehan before I was kind of like, I knew that Twilight was there, but I definitely liked steamier stuff. Twilight felt like YA to me. So yeah.
Yeah.
So I would
It was, yeah.
I would argue that like those were more my influences, but like not because I want to
I understand.
uh,
Nalini's the
uh,
queen. She's my favorite for
yeah.
PNR, so yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And
Yeah,
then
I have the arc for the next one, so that's fun.
uh,
Archangel's Lineage, you're gonna love it.
yes, I haven't read it yet, but I'm excited about it because I think isn't that I don't know if it's the last or like they are wrapping things up, I think, or whatever.
Well, it's in
And
April, but yeah, it's awesome.
okay.
Thank
And
you. We have another question.
sorry.
This is a question for both of you. You talked a lot about writing in different genres, and I was just wondering if there was another genre you would be interested in writing in. For Ali, I would think you would be great at writing historical romance. So if you're
Oh.
ever interested, I would definitely read it.
It's a lot of research to write historical
Yes,
romance.
it is.
I feel like you have to know a lot, and I am very bad at knowing things. I have to say, it's I can see myself like just doing everything wrong, but just like I don't know, have them be at a ball and then they take out a cell phone.
Yeah.
Like I could see myself doing something like that. But I do love historical romance because there are all these like societal rules where it's very easy to put people in like forced proximity situations. You know what I'm talking about? So
Yep,
it's
yep. Uh-huh.
yeah, I would love that. I would love to write something if only I knew things about history.
Well, actually, they think that I just heard that the 80s are now considered historical. So, so I actually the book I just wrote is a dual timeline. It's present day in 1950s into 1970s. And I was
It's
like, oh my
dark.
God, this is like considered like what my growing up eras are now considered, the 80s are historical. So there was TVs in, the 50s, because I had to look that up. I was like, wait, did they have TVs or phones or was there cars? And they did, they had all that. So I just had to make sure they didn't have the cell phones and everything. But they did have physical phones. So you could write a historical in the 80s.
I could write maybe the 90s too. Like I
Yeah.
remember stuff from the 90s. So I could, I would even kind of it would be my era. So maybe
Exactly.
that's how we do it, maybe.
Yeah. Or you get somebody else to do the research for you, right?
Maybe I
So.
should co-write one. So we have our very good friend Elizabeth
Yeah,
Everett.
Sarah, yeah, you could have Elizabeth help you. You guys could
Yeah.
co-write one. That would be great.
And she writes the best historical romance.
Historical romance. Yeah, Elizabeth
They're so
Elizabeth
good.
Everett. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
yeah, I just started writing that kind of historical contemporary day. So I guess I am kind of dabbling now in historical. But yeah, it's a lot of research. So
I also think that you would write great YA because of like the humor in your books. Well, especially in your rom-com, like
Yeah.
I don't know, I could see you
well,
writing
you know that the rom-com was a YA book before,
Oh yeah,
right?
I remember. Yeah, it
Yeah,
was.
I had
Yeah.
written half of it as a YA, and it was on
And
sub,
then-
and we had interest, but nobody was picking it up. And then I was like, you know what? I don't know teenagers. I think I'm going to turn into an adult, and so I did. But I'm waiting until Laken becomes a teenager.
Exactly, you're
and then-
basically there.
Then I can use him and his friends as, you know, the prototypes, because I don't know what teenagers these days do and don't do. So,
Nice.
oh, I know, but you're only 11. You're not a teenager yet. So when you become a teenager, I'll start writing YA again. So
Okay, another question.
So I'm wondering if you have beta readers for your novels, aside from your writing group, like regular people who just devour your books. And if so, do you take their comments and suggestions into consideration?
yeah, I always have readers. I always thought my first time querying a book, nobody read it. And I sent it out to agents, not realizing that you're supposed to have readers, like critique partners and beta readers. And then I realized that was a mistake because it was horrible. It was a really bad book. And then I finally joined a critique group, and then I got on Twitter. Well, it's not Twitter now, but when it was Twitter, and I actually met my writing community there. I met my critique partner there. I've started a whole community of people that we would trade pages. And so even now, before I send anything to my agent, I always either send pages, or if somebody has time, the whole book, to people to read, just to see, you know, does this make sense? And I don't do it for line edits or for developmental edits. It's more like, does this make sense? Do you understand what I'm trying to go for? Is something problematic? And yeah, I do send it to beta readers as well as critique partners before I send it to my agent. And she appreciates it because then it's got eyes on it, so she doesn't have to do all the editing. What about you, Ali?
Yeah, so I started writing in fan fiction, and yeah, so in fan fiction it's a pretty well established, the whole like beta reader thing, like usually before well, not always, but if you want, before posting a fan fiction, you will have you know, a friend who's also in fandom look it up and look through it, and like then you post something that maybe doesn't have continuity errors or typos. Not that I mean, fan fiction doesn't have to be anything but what it is, because you know it's free and it's online. But if you want to, you can do that. So I had you know, I would beta for other people and they would beta for me as I transitioned into you know, writing professionally. My friend Jen, above all, she's the one who just kind of, she just reads my stuff. Like I'll have her read, usually I have her read books because I know she has a very good eye for yeah, like whether things don't make sense. She also reads a lot of romance, so she's like I think people will be mad at the character here if you know, you do this. So she's someone who has a really good eye for romance, I think, and just generally I trust her opinion. And then I have another friend, my friend Margaret, who she is very good at like just analyzing stuff. And so, yeah, these are the two people that I usually ask for, like, can you take a look at this book? Like my next book that is coming out, like I was like, this is not working and I can't figure out why. And so I sent it to my friend Margaret, and Margaret sent it back to me and she was like, this is why it's not working. And she was right. So
yeah, it's great to have that. And I always say, like, if it works, like if I see it, I'm like, oh, you're right, this doesn't make any sense, then I'll take it and change it. But there are times when people tell me something, I'm like, well, actually, that's what I was going for. So then I would keep it. So it really just depends on what you think works for your story. Because I don't go and try to change everything somebody tells me to do, unless it works.
That is so true. And like sometimes you're right. Like sometimes it's really just you can tell. One thing is, oh, what you're writing doesn't make sense and what you're trying to accomplish is not coming through. But another thing is, I personally don't like the decision that this character is making here right now. Well, that I wouldn't take that feedback if that's the story that I want to tell, I guess. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, I got a question for both of you. So out of all of the books that you've written, which one is your favorite character and why?
I can't remember my books. Ali, you're gonna have to go first.
Um, so my favorite book that I wrote is my YA, Check and Mate. And I guess I really like the main character, Mallory. She is going through it. And she's young, like she's 18, so she makes a lot of mistakes. It was really fun to write a character that had like room to make mistakes and to just screw up because, you know, she's so young and it's what, you know, it's what you're supposed to do when you're 18. Your frontal lobes are not fully grown, so it's okay.
And you would know, right?
Yes, exactly.
You scientist. My favorite book that I've ever written is a book that is not out yet. It's the one that I just finished, and it like literally wrote itself. Like I had researched it, but the idea came to me, I think in a dream or something. And then I researched and outlined it, and I sent my agent entire synopsis. But then I sat down to write it, and the entire third half, and whatever, was just like rewrote itself. And this new character, this man just like popped in and decided to have a POV. And then I wrote a whole section on his POV, and it just works like brilliantly. And I have no idea where it came from. It just like one of those fever dreams where you sat down. I think I wrote like 30,000 words in like 2 weeks. And
I love that.
yeah, so this is the book that's out right now in Sub. So let's fingers crossed that somebody buys it, because all my beta readers have said it's the best one I've written so far. So yeah, but besides that, I loved Red Thread of Fate, because that was based on Lei Ken's journey. So I always call that the book of my heart, because even though the story has nothing to do with me, I took his adoption journey and used that as the idea of the book. So
thank you. You both have wonderful covers.
yeah, they
Can
did
you
a great
tell
job.
us how you select those covers?
I still remember when Ali showed us her the cover, right?
Wasn't it? Did I show you several versions or something?
Yes, we saw
There were-
a bunch.
There were some not good versions.
Yeah, there's always some not good versions.
Yes, they're the ones where you go in the group chat and you're like, guys.
Yeah, I love what they gave me. Do you remember my second book? They made it puke yellow. And
Oh
they
my God, yes.
remember they had this woman, a little girl standing there with her arms like this, and she looked like, my agent goes, that looks like the child from The Shining. And it was not a thriller. So, and I had told my editor, oh, it's fine, I love it. She goes, no, she like, stop. And then I showed everybody, and they're like, why is it puke yellow?
But I remember though, like your first cover, the one for Tiger Mom's Tale, like that was I think it was basically, didn't it like wasn't it born fully formed or something?
No, that was someone else's life. That was my first thriller, the kawaii one. The one for Tiger Mom, they gave me 4 different variations.
Okay.
One of them looked like Miami Vice. It was like that pale, you know, whatever. And my agent's like, this looks nothing like Taiwan. But it was,
like the final one was
yeah, the
perfect.
final one was great with the eyes that follows you. and-
Yes.
yeah, but they usually give us like 3 to 4 versions, I guess, and we're allowed to pick, I guess, and give our opinions. I can't remember the one for Bride. What was the first?
It was, first of all, it was green. It looked like a rom-com cover, and I just really did not like that. Like I just wanted, I wanted to make sure that people didn't like pick it up thinking that they
it was
were
a
picking
rom-com.
up exactly, yeah. Or like just something set in the I don't know, in the love hypothesis universe. Like I just wanted to make sure that people didn't waste money on the book if they didn't want to read
I
it.
remember you said something about her ears, like they're supposed to be pointed or something.
Yes. So and then we worked toward the final version, but
yeah, I love
there was
this
a bunch
one.
of stuff.
It's Misery. It's like, and I love her name too. I'm glad you named her that.
I remember, I think I asked our group of friends, I was like, what do you guys like, would it be too much if I named her Misery? And I remember, I think Sarah was like, you know what, I think people would think of Misery like the book by Stephen King. And I was like, I know, but I
never thought that while reading it. She was just Misery. She was Misery Lark to me. Misery Lyn Lark.
Misery Lyn.
Yeah. No, it's amazing.
Okay, we have time for one question.
I think someone had a question in the chat. Yeah, there was a question from someone there.
Oh,
I can just read out my question if that's easier.
Yeah.
So I wanted to say thank you so much. This has been truly a delight. I have my glass of wine here and I'm having a great time. So my question is for Ali. So I'm also a scientist, so I like can totally spot moments in your STEMinist books where I'm like, okay, there's like a bit of research here that like narrative is built around and romance is built around, and I love seeing that. And so I was curious for Bride, did you like put on your Dr. Hazelwood hat at all? Like, did you go into like a deep dive research into vampire and werewolf lore, or did you just kind of set that aside and let your like other side take over for this story?
yeah, actually, maybe I did some research on like wolves and I remember doing some research with like cool animal traits that the vampires or the werewolves might have. Like they have blood that is, different colors, for example. So I was looking at like what color bloods are actually, exist in nature and, what blood should be, copper based or whatever. So I had some of that, but in the end, it was really just fun to let it be and, just take every single little trait that I found fun and and like put it in the book because that's the fun part of creating your own world. You can like anything goes. No one can tell you that you can't do it. So it was refreshing in a way. The book that I am writing right now is that I am supposed to be editing. I'm actually just watching K-drama, but but like the book that I should be editing right now was the most research intensive book because it's set in a world that's not like science related, not academic. Well, there is some science, but it's a word that I just didn't know enough about, and I was like, oh, I kept thinking it was so nice when I could just make up stuff because they're vampires.
Right, because then if you get it wrong, it doesn't matter. So
yeah, exactly. And you can just say, well, but my vampires are different from regular
right,
vampires.
because your vampire has a Y in it. So
exactly. Not like other vampires.
Thank you. That's amazing.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, guys. That was fantastic.
yeah, thank you for
Thank
having
you.
us.
Thank you. And we have books for sale here, and people who join us on Zoom, please buy your favorite authors' books, not from Amazon, from local
Yes.
businesses. Don't support big corporations, support your local businesses. And thank you so
Or
much.
take them out from the library. Ask your library to get the books if they don't have it. And that's also very supportive, right?
Mhm.
And put up reviews. So that's how people find out about it. So thank you.
Yes.
And
Thank
tell
you,
your
Ali.
friends.
Thank you.
Yeah, tell your friends. Thank you,
Thank
Ali.
you so much for having
So
us.
good to see you.
Bye,
Thank
Lakon.
you.
Like, say bye to her. Say bye to
I'm
her.
gonna text you.
Okay, bye.